This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. The meeting tonight is being recorded and broadcast by eMedia on Charter Channel 193 and live streaming on their webpage, easthamptonmedia.org. Councilors and participants in this meeting are gathering hybrid on the order extended until March 2025, allowing us to do so. I remind both members of the City Council and the public participating remotely to remain muted until recognized by the City Council President or Acting President. Also, for the members of the public, please remove your camera for the duration of the meeting unless you are participating in public speak time or the public hearing. Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. Barbara.
Connie Denham.
Here.
Salem Derby.
Present.
Omar Gomez. JP Kaczynski.
Here.
Tom Peak.
Here.
Brad Riley.
Here.
Tamara Smith.
Here.
JT Terrell.
Here.
Owen Zarek.
Present.
Okay, and now we will take a short moment of silence. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And we do have some minutes from our November 20th meeting. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes from November 20th? Seeing none. Barbara.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zarek.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now is the time where anybody from the public can address the council. You can have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record and come to the podium. Welcome.
Hi, I'm.
Here, we're gonna get you on the microphone.
I can do that.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm June Stackhouse. I'm Lily Federoff DeFalco. I'm Beatrice Ewing. We are three fifth graders in Miss Frankie's class at Mountain View School. There would be 4 of us, but one of us couldn't make it. We believe that the Mountain View School playground should have better recess equipment. The MVS playground only has structures for people with great upper body strength. If your arm muscles aren't the size of the Titanic, chances are you will be quite bored during recess. Also, if you're bored, you can end up doing dangerous stuff, which is bad. When kids get into fights, and the kids
Can you speak louder?
You want to try to get right into this microphone.
Kids get into fights, arguments, and they may have bad physical contact. People get hurt and frustrated. This frustration can go into classrooms, which can impact learning, and teachers have to sort everything out. Today we saw a heated argument and 2 kids started crying. Kids are going home grumpy, which affects parents too. During the last month, we have made a petition during our recess time and have gotten many signatures. We have quite a lot of people agreeing with us. The principals, almost everyone in 5th grade, and quite a few teachers and parents as well. We are here to ask for your support as we continue fighting to get better equipment, and we hope that you will sign our petition too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have a pen if anyone wants to sign it and doesn't have one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Amoroso. I am a resident of Easthampton. I live on Winter Street. I'm also a paraeducator at Mountain View School. I've had the great privilege of knowing these 3 young people since they were in 2nd grade. First, I'd like to say they are a credit to themselves, to their teacher, Mrs. Mary Frankie, and to their families. This was their idea. They saw a problem and they ran with it. And frankly, I agree with them. It is probably not great for people to hear that our brand new playgrounds are not really serving our children, but it's a fact. One thing that I see that maybe they don't is that the kids who are most affected by this are children with disabilities, not just physical disabilities, but also developmental ones. When you can't scamper like a little monkey or you can't climb hand over hand, what you're left with is walking around in circles and sitting down, right? And if you can't join in on, say, a cooperative game that other kids have made up, you're kind of not left with a lot. So that, I think, is kind of the disappointing fact of it. And it's also true with the middle school playground. The middle school is even more hanging by your arms, upper body strength. And kids have a diversity of interests, a diversity of abilities, and a diversity of needs. And I hope that we can all work together to improve this situation for kids, because they just want to have a good time in the little time that they have. They have 20 minutes a day for recess. At Maple School, they had a morning recess. They don't have that at Mountain View, so they really need to make the most of that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council on anything that is not on the public hearing? JP, go ahead and sign that. Are you gonna?
Yeah. Take off a hat and go into private citizen mode.
There you go.
This is a hard act to follow. I think you guys were just terrific. Thank you so much for coming to visit us today. I'm very impressed, and I know I will be looking into the matter myself, and I hope my colleagues will also. So thank you. That being said, I don't know if you were going to be discussing on the agenda tonight anything to do with salaries of elected officials, but I wanted to say I came across an interesting piece of information. It was a couple of weeks ago, and it was about, I think, the richest person in the world. Is it Elon Musk? Is he now the richest person in the world? Put out an advertisement for people to volunteer to help out with a project of his. And he expected people to work 80 hours a week, and the only catch was no salary. I can't believe that anyone in the world could be that far out of touch with reality to think that people who are working don't deserve to be paid adequate compensation. So I hope whatever you do when you're thinking about what you're going to be doing with the mayor and the future city council, that you not be out of touch with reality. The salaries enable folks to be here who can't be here. If you don't make enough money to support your families, if you need an extra income, don't apply for the city council, because you won't be making minimum wage. Better to go somewhere else. And I think that's appalling for this community, to have folks who don't have an opportunity to be here, to have wealth and income, be a block or a special club. It is not a special club. This is the public's place, where public business is discussed, and there should be a diverse, wide range of people who serve. There should not be blocks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the council? Okay. Seeing none. We do have an item for immediate attention tonight, which is the draft 2025 City Council meeting schedule. I know that this has been reviewed, and we, I believe, just need to vote this in tonight, right?
Unless you see some changes.
And does anybody have any concerns, any changes that they would like to propose that would hinder us from? Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just have one question is, so I have looked through the calendar to ensure that there are no religious conflicts, but I also recognize that I am not well-read on all of the appropriate religions, so I just wanted to double-check that we have done our due diligence to ensure that there are no meetings that overlap with high holidays.
I believe that was taken into consideration with this draft.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So without any objection, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025 City Council meeting schedule.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, Barbara?
Salem Derby,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Brad Riley,
Aye.
Tamara Smith,
Aye.
JT Terrell,
Aye.
Owen Zaret,
Aye.
Connie Denham. Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Do any counselors have anything that they would like to share this evening? Counselor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Acting President. I just wanted to, again, to remind folks that we have the municipal academy applications that are out, and we're still accepting applicants. So if you are interested in that, they can be found on the city website. You just need to search for Municipal Leadership Academy, and you will find information there as well as the application. So I hope people will take the opportunity to learn about not just the operations of the various departments, but it's an amazing opportunity to get to know your department heads and the folks who work in the city, so that you can develop those relationships. So again, just want to let folks know that that's happening.
Thank you, Counselor Dunn. Now, quick question. Is the information on the city website if people are looking for it?
Yep, so you just have to search for Municipal Leadership Academy and kind of the search bar there, and it'll take you right to the page.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we don't have any correspondence. I don't have any communications. We do have mayor communications, but I don't see the mayor. The mayor's not here, so I guess what we have is recognition of exemplary public service, dispatch, fire, and police departments, which will be on, which was on November 16th, 2024. And I guess we'll have to wait for the mayor to fill us in on that. And we have 2 minutes. So Councilor Peak, do you think you could give us a 2-minute update on finance? Do your best.
I'll have to speak pretty slowly because we didn't meet.
Fair enough.
Your next meeting?
Our next meeting, well, we've got, yes, well, we have things to, we're going to have an item in new business.
Okay.
So we will be meeting this a week from today, so that's what, the 11th?
Yes.
At 5:30 p.m. To discuss the PEG access account appropriation.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
May I raise a point?
Councilor Sarah.
Thank you. Vice President, Acting President Derby. If I may address the Chair of Finance, I think I realize that we're actually in some sort of kind of catch-22 loophole where the committee made a recommendation on councilor salaries, but there's no real opportunity for a council vote to either affirm that or to make other recommendations because of the way, well, it doesn't appear on the public hearing tonight. And so I was wondering if there's any way that you can think of where we'd be able to have full council input on this matter.
Yeah, thanks for your comment there. I think that, yeah, the way that this public hearing was set up only discusses the mayor's salary. We did vote within committee to take no action on the other items, and I suppose that should receive a full vote at the city council. It's not customary for things to, even if we make a motion to take no, to not do something or to dismiss something, we do usually, the full, like we're just an advisory body. So the full council would need to take a vote on that. I don't know. The way I'll take responsibility for the situation ending up like it is, because the language should have included to say that second vote that we voted to take no action on the other items. So I guess Acting President Derby, I'm kind of interested in how you think we should handle this one.
I understand the conundrum here, and I think that potentially the solution here would be to set a public hearing for the next meeting and to get language to Barbara with some sort of change. There would have to be some sort of change. I believe that there's an amendment that was proposed that would have to include that language, because you can't post a no change.
Okay.
So, and I think that would probably be, that way the council could either say, as a full body, we agree to make no change, so we would reject that, or we would agree to discuss whatever change we think would be reasonable. Councilor Peak.
So then, I guess here's what I would suggest is that we have our public hearing, and then at that point, if there's amendments that people want to propose to salaries and stipends other than the salaries or stipends of the mayor, that we vote to set a public hearing for those particular proposal or proposals, but that unless there is a proposal that we not do that, because I just think
so you have to bring forward something to be advertised and hold a public hearing.
Okay,
because these are ordinances, city ordinances.
So, so I think that probably what makes sense is to have this amendment, which I have in front of me, which is a change of city councilor salary, be sent to finance so you can review it on Wednesday, but preemptively set the public hearing for our next meeting. So you'll have time to review this as a committee, the proposal, but then we will also have the opportunity as a full council to be able to discuss it.
I think that's fine with one caveat, which is that I would not expect that finance, I would suspect that finance would return without much of a recommendation, because finance already took a vote on a course of action, and so then we can discuss this matter in 2 weeks separately, but that there's no course of there's no other
and I think that would allow so if finance did want to discuss it and vote it down and come with a negative,
sure,
I think that's perfectly acceptable as well. And it is almost implied, but it does at least, there is an opportunity. It's not like we would be having a public hearing without an opportunity for finance to be able to weigh in on the specific proposal, which I think would make sense. Councilor Kwasinski.
I presume you're speaking of school committee and city council salaries?
No. The only one that we have in front of us is an amendment for city councilors.
Is it possible to schedule a public hearing for both?
Should have been done.
Yeah, we're a little late in the game, but I think that...
We are late in the game. It's the end of the year period, and we pushed it to the last moment, which is not unheard of with us, but we have.
Well, I mean, since nothing has been moved forward, I don't see why not. It would just, that would have to be...
I have to have
it would have to be in writing to Barbara by tonight.
And you have to read it. Tom would have to read it and refer it to committee.
Right.
So if you want to write something,
if you want to write it quick,
maybe we can return to this after the public hearing, because we are scheduled to go, and so I just won't conclude my committee report, I guess, so we can just jump back into it. If that sounds for you.
Perfect. And we do have we are past 6:15. So what I would like to do is I would like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Barbara.
JP Kaczynski,
Aye.
Tom Peach,
Aye.
Brad Riley,
Aye.
Tamara Smith,
We got some echo.
JT Terrell,
Aye.
Owen Zarrett,
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is open, and I will pass it back to Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'm going to sort of sit a little bit back from this and hope I don't set it off. Okay, so we came back and forth on this topic throughout the year. And I think that what we heard from our Finance Committee members and from a handful of councilors who submitted feedback, as well as some non-councilors, is that there's sort of a diversity of opinion on this topic, and that diversity of opinion is kind of philosophical. It sort of comes back to questions about public service and to the extent to which public service is should be treated, like a regular job, or whether it's something a little bit special, and also questions about, whether small cities, we are a very small city, like how we should take our salaries into account when compared to much larger cities that have a much larger tax base, but fundamentally there could probably be some questions about how different the job actually is, and so I think there's a lot of ways to look at it. What we ultimately proposed at the end of the day, or what we voted on at the end of the day, was a proposal that Barb had actually suggested, which just again would not take any action on any of the salaries or stipends other than that of the mayor, and that in the case of the mayor, it would increase the salary of the mayor by $3,000 effective January 1st of each coming calendar year after 2025, which is the last year that we have a salary set for. Just for anyone at home or who wasn't on the council a few years ago, there was a back and forth in, I want to say 2020, about the mayor's salary, and there was a proposal to raise it. There are some people who did not want it raised, there are some people who did, and sort of what we basically agreed on was the idea of incrementally raising it over the next 4 years, because we now have a 4-year mayor, which that became a thing in 2019. So this would continue with that and basically set a pay schedule for the mayor for the entirety of the next mayor's, whoever that might be's, term. So with $3,000 raises, it would become $93,000 effective January 1st, 2026, $96,000 in 2027, $99,000 in 2028, and $102,000 in 2029. This was ultimately voted on 2-0 with one exception. That being myself. I think that I personally have some concerns about the salary being a bit low. All the same, I do want to respect the decision of the committee, so I'm putting it forward with just noting my why am I suddenly blanking?
Abstention.
Abstention, yeah. Yes, I think that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any councilors have any questions? Any comments? Councilor Zarrett.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I did submit early on a recommendation for salary and to the committee, and that salary was $120,000 a year. I had felt that the last time that we had this conversation that we were significantly behind the times in terms of compensating our chief executive of the city, and that even with the last changes, I felt that we remain pretty far behind. The city over the last few years has made substantial efforts to change our pay plan to make sure that the pay of all the employees of the city is equitable, and adjust a number of salaries, certainly mostly over probably the last 4 years, I believe. And I don't think that the mayor should be excluded from that process of equity. It's a 4-year commitment. It's very rare that someone could leave that unlike any other job. It's a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day job, and it's very public-facing. When you leave office, whether that be from just choosing to leave office or not, or losing in an election, you can't go on LinkedIn and find other mayor jobs like yours. And to then re-enter the private or public sector is not necessarily guaranteed. It's not like there's jobs just waiting for you. Well, I will admit, though, that the office does open up opportunities. It's very public-facing. One bad newspaper headline or social media viral post by no fault of the mayor's can significantly affect your livelihood and job prospects. And so that's, I think, kind of some of the intangibles and the subjective. But so the objective is I sat down with the data, and we were given salaries from across the Commonwealth for fiscal year 23 and 24, I believe it was. And that included a scatter plot. And just looking at the scatter plot, you could see that Easthampton was an outlier from all the data. So I wanted to see what potentially, based on that data, where we would fall. So I sat down with Excel, I filtered out the data to just 4-year mayors. I removed Boston as an outlier, both because of the population and the salary was also a significant outlier, and obviously I removed Easthampton, and I ran the forecast function, and that basically came out to $120,000 or $119,000. And so both based on kind of all the intangibles and kind of the qualitative information that I mentioned early on, we also kind of have this statistical basis, I think, to at least recommend that number. So I just wanted to put that forward. I want to make sure that we are fairly paying the chief executive of the city for all the work that they do, and again, recognizing that it's not a 9-to-5 job. You don't close that door every night and go home. You basically open that door at the beginning of your term and you close it at the end. So that's all I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure I put that out there, and whatever the council chooses to do with it, and I respect that the process of the finance committee, but I just wanted to make sure I put that out there.
Any other councilors have any thoughts or discussion before we hear from the public? Councilor Riley.
Thank you. Yeah, so, I certainly share some of the thoughts that Councilor Peak and Councilor Zarrett have put forward. When I talk to people outside of public service about what salaries look like specifically in Easthampton, people think it's actually crazy what we do. Being as close to the mayor's office as we are, and to see the type of work that Mayor LaChapelle has to do on a daily basis, to me it feels offensive to be paid that low. In my full-time job, I almost make the same amount that the mayor does, and the types of responsibilities that I have pale in comparison. Oh, can you not hear me well? They pale in comparison to the types of things that she has to do. And, and I look at, the budget that we just approved, and there are people who the mayor oversees that make significantly more than the mayor does. That maybe that's, I can certainly see the value of, our IT services for sure. I think we could always pay our IT people more, but when you think that the mayor oversees the IT department, oversees HR, oversees, all of the finances, the planning department, I mean, there's just so much to that job. And, one of my concerns going forward, because we're going to have a lot of turnover here in our city leadership over the next few years, what kind of people are we attracting to the job that are willing to do that kind of work for that price? Are we going to get a mayor that is not as tactical and intelligent and dedicated and prepared as Nicole was when she took over? What I want to balance that against, however, is every time we talk about the budget, it's always where are we cutting money from? And with complete respect to Councilor Zare, because I think $120,000 does seem fair, we've had pretty lively debates over $20,000 or $30,000 having to come from somewhere. And so I think we still have to have those debates, plus we're also going to have to talk about an additional amount of money to pay the mayor. So, I don't know what the answer is, and I'm more than happy to continue a debate to find out what this number looks like. Just that I know it needs to be higher than what it is, and yet somehow we still have to find a way to pay for it. So I don't really know where I land in that yet, but I hope that others will kind of weigh in and talk about this. Thank you.
Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Acting President. I think I will be honest, I voted for this increase. I was not in favor of a massive increase. I think for a variety of reasons. I think the first reason is that anybody can run for mayor. And quite honestly, elected positions often turn into popularity contests, and the mayor, our current mayor, has brought millions of dollars, I think, into this city, and I don't know that the next mayor is going to be able to do that, right? And I think that we're using language like chief executive officer, and I think that we need to be cautious of using that, because I don't think that the future mayors necessarily have the same skill set as this particular mayor. I could be wrong, right? We don't know who's in that field yet, but I think that's language I think we need to be cautious of. One of the only requirements for that person is they don't have to have a job, right? We don't ask of them to have a degree. They don't have to have an MBA. They don't have to have they don't even have to have a high school diploma, right? And so I think that we need to be careful of what we're saying. It is an elected position, and it's a choice. Like, all of us are sitting here because of choices that we have made. And that person wants to do that for whatever reason. I think that we also have other positions within the city who fill various needs, and so who are specialized in their particular trade and their particular knowledge. And so for us to then pay double the amount, in addition to paying all of these higher salaries for people who have specialized professional experience that are supposed to advise the mayor. So now we're doubling up on the things that we are paying for. In regards to Councilor Zare, it's kind of us as Easthampton as an outlier, and Boston. We are, in fact, the smallest city in the Commonwealth. We do not have a massive tax base to be able to pay for some of those things, to pay for higher salaries. And that's just our reality, and I think we're doing the best that we can to be able to navigate that. Would I like to see them paid more? Sure, and I think that we've acknowledged that, and we've tried to do that in a way that we can support the acknowledge the increase in it's not a living wage, but inflation. So we tried to acknowledge that. And I think that we're doing the best that we can. I think the other thing that we need to acknowledge is that we're in a $1.8 million deficit right now. And we don't know if we're going to be out of that until March or April. And so for us to say, well, we're in this financial situation, but that's okay. We're going to put $30,000 towards this. As Councillor Riley just alluded to, we're going to have to take $30,000 from somebody else. And I just do not think that we are in the financial situation right now to be able to do that. And I think, I'm going to say this as a woman, we could have changed the mayor's salary at any time in the last term or before that as an ordinance. We could have changed that. That mayor has brought in, as I said, a considerable amount of money to this city. And no one has questioned whether or not she needs more funds for all the amount of work that she's doing. And we haven't done that because that's a woman. And now we have other people who are interested in running this, who are in fact men, who have expressed interest, and now we want to raise it $30,000. I am just acknowledging the discrepancy that I think is in that. Like I am as a woman, often seeing the financial discrepancies in pay and the amount of work that women often do that are not financially recognized, and now being able to say, well, now there's other people who are interested, and moving forward with some of those things and giving a much higher salary to that. I'm just acknowledging that. I want to name that. And again, I think we're in a financial deficit right now, and I just think that this is the not the right time to be thinking about this.
Thank you, Councilor Dunham. Councilor Riley, and then
just a point of clarification. We actually don't know who's running for mayor in the next term. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be a non-binary person, it could be a queer person. We are talking about increasing the salary for an unknown person that we do not know exists. So, I don't think that it's fair to say that we are talking about increasing the salary with the anticipation that a man will become mayor. We've had more women as mayors in the city than men. And I think we have all benefited greatly from the women who have been mayors. And were another woman to be mayor in this next term, then she would benefit from this salary increase. So I just wanted to correct that the reason why we have these debates now is because we cannot have them when it is a year where there's an election happening. So the process of even taking out papers does not occur until next year, so this is an unknown.
Thank you. Councilor Kwasinski, are you still?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up and say, while I appreciate there be discussion between genders, among types of people, I think Councilor Riley is right. It could be anyone who decides that they want to run for mayor. And I hope we have a good candidate this season. I really do, because as Councilor Denham puts it, there is a financial constraints. But then again, there always has been financial constraints. And believe me, it is never a good time to talk about salaries of elected positions. It just isn't. And it's never a good time to raise any salary for any elected position. I will point out that this is not for any one of us or for the sitting mayor. This is for 11 months from now, 12 months through 36, no, wait a minute, it's even longer. It's 4-year term that we're talking about. This is going to run 11 months from now for the next 4 years after that period. So 5 years from now. I shudder to think what may be happening with salaries, but I think if we look at the salaries of plumbers and electricians and et cetera, I'm not sure I'm sure it competes well with the mayor and exceeds the mayor's salary. That isn't where we need to be a year from now. That isn't where we need to be 5 years from now. If it were up to me, I would easily start at 100 and go to 110 the following year, and then maybe keep it at 110 at that point. But that would be my recommendation, and I will make that recommendation tonight. I think that's an easy no-brainer. I'm not sure that compensates the mayor. Regarding the, Councilor Denham, I think you had said that we could change the salary. We can only change the salary during, not for any sitting person. So it couldn't have been changed a few years ago. It could have been changed 3 or 4 years ago. Yes, it could have been changed, but that was 3 or 4 years ago. Now we're in a situation where we won't be able to change it again for 5 years. That's a long time. And I don't think it matters whether it's a woman or a man or whomever. We want to be sure we have a good candidate. And I will remind you that I think we still have within the charter a provision that calls for anyone who has, that they can't have another full-time job. So this is the full-time job. It's not like you can take someone and they can supplement their salary with what we're offering. No, this is what we want them to do. And thank goodness we've had a mayor who did bring in lots of money. And we did have a mayor who was very well equipped before the current mayor to serve the city. And before that, we had a mayor who served us, I will say, very strenuously, very hard. I think Councilor Derby and I, looking to you, we sat through many a meeting. He brought us along, educated us. Yes. I will say that when we started, I think it was 2003 or so.
Yep.
Anyway, I think what we need to do is be realistic about our salaries.
Thank you, Councilor Kuczynski. Councilor Smith, I'm going to get right to you. Councilor Peak had his hand up, and then you'll be next. Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Councilor Kuczynski largely said what I was going to say, which is just that we set Mayor LaChapelle's salary in November of 2020. I remember that it was November of 2020 very distinctly because I remember walking my brand new dog and a neighbor, a constituent and neighbor of mine jumping on the porch and saying, "Hey, you better not raise the mayor's salary," and the dog barked at him, and it was such a thing. He's a great guy. It wasn't like a thing, but you know. The point is that was set, and the reason why that's set is because we don't want to ever be in a position where a sitting elected official is exerting influence on us to raise their salary, because we all have to go to the mayor all the time to ask for stuff, to ask for support on things. Hey, my constituent needs to do a thing. Would you support an appropriation? Whatever, right? And we don't want there to be that leverage there. The only way to do that is to talk about hypothetical future people. Now, when you're in a small, community like Easthampton that has, I love Easthampton, but frankly, it's somewhat embarrassingly low rate of competitive elections. There is a sense in which that kind of feels like a formality. I think when we raised Mayor LaChapelle's salary, all of us probably expected Mayor LaChapelle to be the mayor in 2022. So there is that. But at the same time, we don't know. Someone could have come along and said it. So we were not saying that we're raising Mayor LaChapelle, we are setting Mayor LaChapelle's salary. We were saying we're setting the salary for whoever that person may be. I know that there's been some people I've heard, I think, of a couple men and a couple women who have expressed interest in running, and I think 3 of the people that I've heard express interest have since said that they are not interested. And part of that is that this is, it's a hell job. It's an impossible hell job. There's just way too much stuff to be done and you don't have the resources to do it all. And that is, and when things don't get done, everyone's mad at you for not being able to accomplish impossible things. So it's a really difficult position now. I think that like none of that negates Councillor Denham's point that we are in a deficit right now. Like that's just is the truth, right? And like, you know, I mean, what I heard from the mayor last budget season sounded like a plan to exit from that this year, but we won't know if that plan works for a while. So if somebody wants to say, yeah, we're not in a position to do anything crazy, I completely get that. I do, and I wouldn't begrudge anybody for feeling differently on this matter, but I do just think when we're talking about $30,000, one stupid mistake from the mayor can cost $1 million, right? Like when you're talking about a lawsuit that might happen because somebody did something wrong, when you're talking about an HR thing, like a bad hire, a bad appointment to something that ends up blowing something up, when you're talking about like a statement that might create a bunch of bad press and distract people, like when you're talking about a policy that gets put in place, it is so easy for a person in these positions. Like, I mean, ask Mayor LaChapelle, she could tell you about plenty of decisions she's made that looking back, she would have probably made a different decision and it would have saved the city a lot more than $30,000. So I'm not saying that this is a philosophical matter. There's no objectively right answer here, and I'm not going to act like there is, and I'm not going to act like somebody who disagrees with me on this is wrong and I'm right, because that's not the case. But I do just think we need to keep this in perspective when we're talking about attracting a, up to this point, unknown person to the city to do this job. What skill sets is that person going to have? What sort of professional experience is that person going to have? Councillor Denham is also completely right that it is totally possible that somebody with absolutely no experience in a professional environment, no experience in an executive or administrative role, could come in as mayor and with the support of their department heads and just a great intuition and a good gut and a lot of luck, could be an incredible mayor. That's absolutely true. I don't disagree with that at all. I also do think that having experience running a large organization, writing a budget, handling HR situations, these sorts of matters, is going to put somebody in a better position to succeed on day one. That doesn't mean that if there's 2 hypothetical candidates running, you know, in a little less than a year, that I'm going to vote for the one with the MBA instead of the one who has, you know, a really non-traditional background, because character matters, I think, a lot more than those professional qualifications do. But I do think those qualifications do matter. I do think that having insight into the sort of just basic executive functions of the job, and it is the executive branch of the city, that's what it's called in the charter. I think that having some background in those things, all other things being held completely equal, is going to make you better. And I think that at every dollar that you raise that salary, it's going to make it a little bit easier for a wider group of candidates to step away from their current job, to put their current career on hold and give this a shot for 4 years. So like, that's just kind of where I am. I completely understand, and I don't disagree with really any point that anyone has made tonight, but I do think that is just what I have to say on the matter.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'm sorry, one more thing is just to reiterate what Councilor Kwasinski says. This is our last shot to get this right for 4 years, right? If we set this as what it is, well,
5 years.
Right, yeah, because, well, in 4 years we'll be deciding this for
the future.
For the future person, but we won't have a say on, is the mayor's salary, not the current one, but the theoretical mayor of Easthampton, is their salary appropriate? The next time we'll be weighing in on this, it'll be 4 years and a bunch of us will not be here. So I do think that there's something like maybe that, you can say whatever like it is, but I just think we need to be thoughtful about this, because there's not an opportunity that in 2 years, we look at this and we say, oh, it's 27 and it's 90, you know what, we actually should go up to 110. Like, we won't be able to do that at that point, because that's a sitting person, and it's not right, and it's also not allowed for us to be looking at it at that point.
Thank you, Councilor Peak. Councilor Smith, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a few things I just want a little bit of clarification on first, and a few comments that I need to also feel compelled to make. So, where to start? I guess the first thing, just because for someone who's watching our conversation from the outside, it's a little hard to follow what's actually on the table right now. So for clarification's sake, are we talking about whether or not we are approving the mayor's salary to have an increase incrementally over the next several years? Or do we have other proposals on the table right now that we are also trying? I just think that it's confusing, and for everybody who's watching, can we just clarify that first?
Thanks, Councilor Smith. I'm going to have Councilor Peak answer that.
Thank you, Councilor Smith. Those are great questions, and I apologize if I didn't do a good enough job. So the proposal that was voted out of the Finance Committee is to incrementally increase the mayor's salary by $3,000 each calendar year over the next 4 years. So that's the proposal that's currently on the table. I believe that both Councilor Zaret and Councilor Kwasinski have signaled that they intend to introduce proposed amendments. And so at the point that I think we finish this, where we go around, I think that they probably will, and we will debate the merits of those amendments. But right now, the proposal that's on the floor is the one that's in the packet.
Okay, I appreciate you clarifying that, so thank you.
Additional clarification.
Councilor Smith, Councilor Kwasinski would like to make one more clarification.
I just wanted, sorry, Councilor Peak, I just wanted to be very clear, since you were clarifying for the public, this is for the salary to begin January 2nd, 2026.
First, but yeah.
They're January 1st, 2026.
26, right.
Not this coming year, but a year from now.
For a new mayor.
That's correct. The salary for the mayor in this coming calendar year was set in 2020.
Yep. Does that answer your question, Councilor Smith? Okay, continue.
Okay, a few things I heard, and I just want to point out because they made me uncomfortable. Current salary of the mayor is the current salary, and to say that if we continued with the current salary, don't know the kind of person that we would get as the mayor. I want to be very careful about that kind of language. Perhaps we would not get as much of an experienced candidate. Perhaps we would not get someone as much education, but to say the kind of person we would get, while I understand the intent, I think we have to be very clear about that. The second thing that I want to say is, as another woman on the council, I think it's really appropriate and necessary for women on the council, when they see a gendered pattern that has taken place, that we point it out and that we say, hey, this has happened. The socialized response, of course, is to be defensive and to say, I would never do anything like that, and that was my intention. But I think the larger thing that we also have to remember, that these patterns do exist, and pointing them out is a burden for anyone who has to point them out, and to consistently be given feedback as to why that's not the case. I just be very careful of that turning into gaslighting, because I think Councilor Dunham has a good point there. And the last thing that I would like to say is that I agree that the salary needs to be higher. I also agree that we're at a point right now financially that raising the mayor's salary by a huge increase would really be, I feel, adding to a lot more of a lot of the division that the city is already feeling. And so while I agree that it needs to be increased, I also think we need to show that we can be financially prudent about that decision and make it incrementally over those 4 years. And so that concludes what I have to say for my comments. Thank you for the time, and I pass it back to you.
Thank you, Councilor Smith. And I think probably at this time, what would potentially make sense is to open it up to the public and then put a motion on, and then councilors can weigh in once again. Just because we're deliberating, and it makes more sense to deliberate once the motion has been made and the public has been able to give input. Councilor Denham, before we open it to the public, would you like to?
Yeah, I just also want to appreciate Councilor Smith's comments. I'm looking at the charter right now, and there's nothing in here that says that the sitting mayor can't have their salary increased. So I'm looking at section 2-4 compensation expenses, and nothing says that the mayor salary can't be increased while they're currently sitting not in an election year. So just want to point that out.
Okay. So I think what makes sense now is to open it up to the public. So if anybody here, anybody online would like to weigh in on this issue, now is your opportunity, because once the motion is made, we will not be entertaining any public comment. So, anybody here? Okay. Anybody online would like to speak?
You all told me.
Just raise your digital hand. And I see no digital hands. Okay. So, Councilor Peak, I would entertain a motion.
Okay.
And then we can continue to deliberate. Once the motion is made, there will be time for deliberation, and there will also be time for amendments.
All right.
Proceed.
So I move that in accordance with the Home Rule Charter, Chapter 3, Section 3-1C, and Chapter 9, Section 9-6I2, the annual salary of the mayor of Easthampton shall be, this is stuff that was in the past, but we'll just $82,000 effective January 2nd, 2022, $84,000 effective January 1st, 2023, $87,000 effective January 1st, 2024, $90,000 effective January 1st, 2025, $93,000 effective January 1st, 2026, $96,000 effective January 1st, 2027, $99,000 effective January 1st, 2028, and $102,000 effective January 1st, 2029.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now this is our chance for further discussion. Councilor Zaret.
So what I'm hearing is a few things. So one, just for the record, I think when we did this a few years ago, I think I had recommended $105,000 or $110,000 for the mayor, which also overshot where we ended now, because the only mayor I've ever served under has been Mayor LaChapelle, who happens to be a woman, but witnessing that close up and the hard work of the work that she did day in and day out made me realize that I think at the time it was $75,000 was not adequate. So I'm hearing a few things. One is that we need to be fiscally responsible, and I completely agree that it raises some alarms to have a $30,000 increase, at least based on what I was recommending, and that the current ceiling that is recommended in the public hearing is maybe too low. So maybe the council can, during our deliberations, agree on what they think an appropriate endpoint is, and then see if we can figure out how to get there. Because I do agree that with staring down a deficit, we obviously need to be mindful of that, but we also, I think, need to be mindful of, once again, in my opinion, appropriate compensation for that office. Regardless of their qualifications or who they are, the work that has to be done as mayor is the work that has to be done as mayor. And so maybe if we can find a number, I know Councilor Kwasinski had thrown out 100, 110, I had thrown out 120. Maybe if we can figure out where we want to go, and then we figure out how to get there over the next 4 years, that might satisfy what everyone's saying here, if that pleases the council.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Zaret. Any other thoughts on this? Councilor Peak.
Yeah, just that I will say that while I do have some concerns about the numbers here, one thing that I do like about the proposal that's on the table is that it's somewhat incremental, and that is something that, for whatever it's worth, in our conversations in Finance Committee, there was one of these conversations, I believe, that Mayor LaChapelle was present for, and I believe that not that she will be the beneficiary of any of this, but that one of the things that she did say was that what she thought would be best, that whatever we do for this or any other position, is to try and set it over as long of a period as you can and make it gradual, because that at least means that when the budget team is doing their work, they can, there's some predictability to it. So, you know, if there are folks who want to make counter proposals on the number, I'm frankly sympathetic to that, but at the same time, I do think I'd prefer to see something that increases gradually and not in a sudden start, just personally. That's, I guess, just responding to Councilor Zaret's point.
Thank you. Councilor Kwasinski.
If we were to somehow come to some agreement that 120 was a good ending point for the final year, for example, just hypothetically, and we were to say that we started the January 1, 2026 at 100, and then divide the other two, would that make any sense to have it be incremental, not to have a huge jump, to end up what seems, from this point of view, to be a reasonable place, although who knows what's going to be reasonable 4 or 5 years from now. Would that make any sense? So I'm suggesting is 100, whatever the midpoint is, the two midpoints equal, and then the end point, final year, be 120.
I think, Councilor Kwasinski, thanks for that. And since I haven't said anything yet, I guess I'll weigh in at this point. You know, as I think about this, I think about a few things. Number one is, you know, compensation of other leaders in the city, and you know, the superintendent is a pretty, you know, significant leader of our school department, and I believe that compensation is significantly well above 120. And so, you know, I think the mayor probably has as much, if not more, responsibility as a superintendent. So, I would tend to agree that this potential increase makes sense as it relates to parity within city departments. And I also look to our neighbors. You know, I think Northampton's mayor right now is somewhere in the 130 range, maybe a little bit more than that. And Northampton's a much bigger city, so they have a bigger tax base. You know, so it probably doesn't need to be, you know, at that level, so maybe somewhere below that. But I also think that the mayor of Northampton probably has to deal with similar issues as the mayor of Easthampton does. You know, it just might be a smaller geographic area with a you know, marginally smaller budget, but still has the same issues to deal with. And I think, you know, one of the things that makes me feel like it makes sense for the mayor to be compensated, and when we did this the first time, when I think Councilor Kwasinski and I did this when you know, Mayor Tautznick was in office, and again when Mayor Kadger was in office, you know, we always said it makes sense to raise the salary just because we can attract more qualified candidates that might be able to, you know, do a better job for Easthampton, regardless of who they are, but, you know, more qualified and willing to put in that extra work and making it worthwhile for them to leave their job and you know, potentially relocate or whatnot. And, you know, at the end of the day, the mayor is the one that's responsible for the budget. So if the mayor's salary is higher, it's the mayor's responsibility to present us a balanced budget. That's the law. And, they will have to not only do the job of the office of the mayor, but they're going to have to do outreach, to governmental agencies to try to bring more grant money in, to try to offset local, expenditures, to try to find ways and creative ways to make sure that they can balance the budget with those fixed numbers that are in place. And that mayor will know what those fixed numbers are, and it will be their job to make sure that they can earn their salary. And they're the one that's going to be responsible for the treasurer and making sure that, all of the receipts are collected in a timely fashion and everything gets, so much of this rests on the mayor. And so I don't feel a ton of apprehension looking at raising it. I think that, 120 might be a good ending point, and looking at 100,000 as a starting point and incrementally going from there, that seems to make sense. And it looks like it would bring us into closer alignment with other, big department heads in the city and our neighbors. So, I would be willing to entertain something like that. I do think this is a good effort of trying to be fiscally responsible, especially with kind of the unknowns of the deficit that we're currently in, and some of those moving pieces. But I do think that a 4-year term mayor, it does make sense to have competitive salary, and I think that could potentially benefit the city in ways as well. So that's my statement from there. And then it looks like Councilor Denham, you have a comment?
Yeah, so I just want to say again, I completely disagree with the logic of what people are saying. This is an elected position. It's not a position that you have a advanced degree for. And I think in that regard, the only stipulation that we have for this position is that you not have another job during this particular time. And so, or I think there's 3 requirements, and one of them is that you don't have, so anybody can apply for this, anybody, and you are banking money on that person is going to have the skill set that qualifies them for this. The whole point of having department heads is that they are skilled, they are knowledgeable, they have understanding of how to do these things. That's why we rely on our treasurer. That's why we rely heavily on our auditor. That is their job, to advise the mayor in order to be able to put those pieces together. And I think what we're saying is that this all falls on the responsibility of the mayor, and now we're doubling up salaries for a position that you're saying that person is essentially the sole person for doing those things. And I think that's why they have those positions, to be able to inform them. But I think that you have the potential of giving somebody a massive salary who has literally no experience. And you're hoping that someone who has the ability to be a CEO is going to say, you know what, I'm going to give up my $150,000, or I'm going to give up my $250,000 job in order to take this $100,000. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I've already asked people who I think are qualified for this, and they are like, absolutely not. There is no way I would take that, not only for what I would experience in that position, but the fact that I have to give up the amount of money in order to be able to do that job. And I think we are underestimating the ability of our department heads in order to be able to advise effectively our mayor. And I think that this is a huge mistake. And I also think that we are far out of being out of the woods of our financial situation at this particular time, particularly given the fact that we might have tariffs coming soon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows what our financial situation is going to be with this change in administration? And I just think that this is a huge mistake.
Councilor Zarek.
So, Mr. Acting President, just based on what you had stated, a potential model could be basically just year 1 through 4, raising it to $100,000 now, and then year 2, 106, year 3, 112, and year 4, 118, which is close, but kind of gets you close to being there, just as a recommendation, which I would make it. So I want to just put that out there.
Okay. And we've got a few more. Councilor Councilor Terrell, I haven't heard from you yet, so maybe I'll let you chime in, then I'll go to Councilor Peak and Councilor Krasinski.
Thank you. I just want to say I was one of the councilors that voted in favor of this $3,000 a year increment during Finance Committee. And I did it for two reasons. I do think it is an important position and does need to be addressed as far as more money is concerned, but also we need to be, as it was mentioned, fiscally responsible. And as Councilor Denham pointed out already, there is nothing that would keep us from readdressing this in 2 years. If in fact it became an issue in 2 years, it could be addressed during a sitting mayor or 3 years from now. I just think we don't want to bite off more than we can chew fiscally. And I think incrementally, although it might be a little low, in my opinion, I feel that's the way to go right now.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Peak.
So I had sort of taken a slightly different idea when we were just sort of talking about if we wanted to do it incrementally. And so my idea, just one way that it could be done, the current proposal looks to increase the salary by $3,000. Well, if you wanted to increase it so that in 2029 it reached that 120, that seems like something a couple people have viewed as attractive. You would really want to actually, and the salaries the salary is already, regardless of what we do tonight, going to be $90,000 next month. Mm-hmm. So that what I think, if I'm not mistaken, the best way to do that would just be to take the $3,000 increase that's here and just change that to a $7,500 increase, so that then it would be instead of 93, it would be 97.5. Instead of 96, it would be 105. Instead of 99, it would be 112.5. And then instead of 102, it would be 120 by 2029, which, if we're just throwing things out there, I just want to say like that. If we want to preserve the general, if people like the general idea of an incremental increase, and don't want to put a very large amount, that would, in terms of the 2026 budget, that would only really change the general cost of this by $4,500, and even by the end would have it increase it by 12,000. But that's something that I would feel okay about, but I'll defer to my colleagues. I would just say that, in the time that I've been a city council, I've seen mayors fire department heads. That's a job that mayors have to do. So I agree that a mayor has to be absolutely guided by the experience and expertise of their department heads. They at the same time also need to hold them accountable and potentially deal with poor performance or misconduct if it comes up, because you don't always hire the right person. And so I don't think you can just have that person just be able to 100% count on those people, because they're not just advisors, they're also employees.
Correct. Councilor Denham.
I don't need more money to be able to fire somebody. I don't think that's the criteria by which people hire or fire people, right? And so I think people are able to make good sound judgment, to be able to figure out whether or not the relationship with that department head is working, and still make less money, because I think it happens all the time. And so I don't think that's the criteria for that. But it's not just the salary. We're going to have to think about the increase to retirement, Medicare, health insurance. This is not a small number that I think that we're walking into right now. And so when I said that we rely on them to advise, there's all sorts of reasons why that relationship might not work out, or that department head might demonstrate poor judgment, cause for release, role and responsibility. And so I think there's any number of reasons, but that does not, the amount that we pay a mayor is not contingent upon whether or not they fire somebody, right? I think it's about us being fiscally responsible in a precarious time. And I think that we are suggesting that we increase this salary. This has to come from somewhere. And I disagree wholeheartedly with the arguments of, well, the Northampton mayor makes X amount of money. We have a much, much smaller tax base. I mean, that is a consideration in the determination of how much we pay somebody, not whether or not they make the same amount as another mayor from another town, just because the work is the same. We have a finite amount of money that we're able to pay people. I mean, that is just our reality. And the Parks Department is exploring the possibility of hiring new, but this could potentially be half of another salary of a needed position in the city. I'm sorry, we are not in a financial situation that we can just tag on this type of money to people who are in the city. And it's also a cut in the services that we're able to provide any number of people in this community. Our senior center, our veterans office, our health care, our health department, our parks department. We're always talking about, the parks department needs more money. And here we are saying, well, you can't have this $40,000 once you add up all of these other expenses.
Councilor Kwiecinski, sorry, I skipped over you.
I'm glad we're having a good discussion about this. And I know that everybody's listening to everyone else. And I hope the public is listening carefully also. I'm sure they are. Let's say we were to wait. We were to say, hey, this is a terrible, and we've seen some really terrible times in the past where the budgets were slashed and people lay on and on. Let's say that's what's coming. And we're going to hire a mayor who's going to pull us out of that and help us find solutions. Come to Easthampton and work here. Be our mayor, be our leader. Only we're going to pay you less too. That being said, now when things turn around, they get better, and all of a sudden we have some money in the budget. We have some money. Let's raise the mayor's salary. It's time. We can afford it. I think that's an absolute wrong time to be raising a mayor's salary. During a sitting mayor, and assuming we could do it, and I'm not sure state law allows us to, okay, raise the current salary of someone currently your mayor. It is poor practice. That allows, as Councilor Peak had said, that allows for too much leverage when each one of us is going to the mayor asking for, geez, can you support this? Can you support, well, my salary needs to be, no. That's absolutely the wrong kind of leverage and the wrong time. Now's the time to be making those decisions, and we're going to make them. I propose an amendment to this, and I propose that the first year be $100,000, January 2nd, 2026, that the second year be $107,500, a partial increase on the way to 120, and that the third year be $112,500, with 120 in the final year of the mayor's term.
It sounds like that could be in the form of a motion.
I made it in the form of a motion, if I may.
So we have a motion and we have a second on the amendment to the original motion. And so now we can have discussion on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment to the current motion?
That's basically what's
okay. Well, seeing none.
So can you we want to just go over, make sure you got I have 100,000 for 2026, is that right? 107,527, 112,528, and 120 and 2029. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have clarification and we have a motion and a second. No further discussion? Okay, Barbara.
JP Kuzinski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Nay.
JT Terrell.
Nay.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
No.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 yeses, 3 noes. Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes. So now we have the original motion as amended. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, Barbara.
Okay, Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
No.
JT Terrell.
Nay.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Absolutely not.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Thank you.
JP Kuzinski.
Aye.
5 yes, 3 no. Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes, and that concludes our public hearing. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Barbara.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Please.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kuzinski.
Aye.
And Tom.
Aye.
Sorry.
Okay, and that brings us back into our committee reports, and I believe we left finance open.
Yeah, in case somebody wanted to do amendments.
Right.
So I have an amendment in writing.
Okay.
And I guess, yeah, it's kind of I don't know, if my,
We gotta do something.
yeah, so I guess the idea then, just to recap where we were, is that I would, if somebody wanted to make, because I messed up the public hearing thing. If somebody wants to, if somebody wants to make an amendment, we can have the public hearing, we can set a public hearing for it, and we can discuss it, but it was the committee's vote, and this was a 3-0 vote, that we take no action. So that's where I believe we are. So I have a proposal from Councilor Kwasinski here, that I guess I could do a first reading. This is sort of an unusual situation. I'm trying to.
I guess I want it in writing.
It's here in writing.
Okay.
So okay. Councilor Kwasinski, if I have any trouble with your handwriting, I hope you'll forgive me. So the first thing is for school committee salary in accordance with the Home Rule Charter, Chapter 4, Section 4.1E. The annual salary for the 6 elected members of the school committee shall be $6,000 per member effective January 2nd, 2026. And the salary of the school committee chair shall be $6,500 effective January 2026. And then the other thing is for the city council salary. He says in accordance with Home Rule Charter, Article 2, Section 2.4a, the annual salary of the city councilors shall be $10,000 per member effective January 2nd, 2026. The salary for the president of the council shall be $10,500 effective January 2nd, 2026. So, like I said, we are going to have a meeting about this, but we already discussed it and voted on it, so I don't anticipate us having anything further to deliberate about it. But since you were not granted the opportunity to make an amendment due to my oversight, I think that it's only fair that we deliberate on that matter in 2 weeks. So that would be I would make a motion to set a public hearing to discuss that for December 18th in 6:15 in these chambers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
No.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So we will have a public hearing at our next meeting, and I believe this will probably be discussed in some manner, maybe?
I don't anticipate
Okay,
discussing it
so
in committee because we've already
deliberated
it at length. Like this, if I had done this right, we would have been doing that tonight. So we're just going to do it in 2 weeks, and I apologize for any confusion that may have caused.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Peak. Does that conclude?
That concludes.
Okay, we have public safety. Councilor Zaret.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I don't have a new report as we haven't met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, the 10th at 6 p.m. in room 1. We'll be discussing we'll be available to discuss all the non-dated items. I don't believe we have a quarterly safety department roadway infrastructure pedestrian safety items. We will definitely be reviewing the language in traffic rules and order. The citywide speed limit we will discuss as well as I believe that Director Mason will be present to also give his input for reversing the traffic pattern at on Dalyfield Road. Just as a note, there seems to have been a lot of requests and discussions through various city channels just about general pedestrian and motorist safety. That's come both my way and to the mayor's office, and these things are complicated. They cost both money and resources, and they require the input of various departments. So a lot of people have been talking about speed bumps, and that becomes a very difficult discussion, but it's certainly one where we're always looking forward to having. But just for the public to know that those things usually need to go through some sort of vetting process before they even become a agenda item, because we want input from the DPW, the police, and the city engineers before we even introduce things like that to make sure that they're at least realistic. So I just wanted to put that out there. And please be safe and drive the speed limit. At this time, I'd also like to request a 90-day extension on the traffic and pedestrian safety on West Street. That's kind of dormant, but we're waiting for a few things to happen. So I'd like an extension on that, please, in the form of the motion I just made.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Barbara.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
And again, that's next Tuesday, the 10th at 6 p.m. in room 1 for our next meeting, and thus concludes.
Thank you, Councilor Zaret. Councilor Riley, appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So the appointment committee last met just 2 days ago, December 2nd, and we had several reappointments before us. So I know you all know this, but just as to explain the process, I know Councilor Terrell, this is your first full term, but at the end of every year, we get a slew of people who need to be reappointed. Unless there's specific issues with a person, or if, a chair reaches out and says, we really have a challenge with X person, this is generally just very straightforward procedural business stuff that needs to get done. So I'll say first that we approved all of these reappointments with a vote of 2-0. There's only 2 of us at the meeting. And then, as I said at the last meeting, when I sent this to committee, because I was confused as to what we were doing, just to remind everybody, with the exception of Mark Tanner, our city solicitor, who has to be reappointed on 1-year terms only. His term expiration date is December 31st, 2025. All other people that I'm going to list will have a term expiration date of December 31st, 2027. So I'm going to read off all of the names and their committees, and then if people have any questions or reservations at the end, we can do so. All right, so we have Lindsay Rothschild to the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership, Elodie Chicoine to the Agricultural Commission, Rachel Phillips to the Aquifer Protection Committee, Stephen Litwin to the Board of Public Works, Mark Tanner, City Attorney, Louise Jacob to the Commission on Disability, Miriam Ansara to the Community Relations Committee, Deborah August to the Conservation Commission, Hal Weeks to the Conservation Commission, Julianne Busa to the Conservation Commission, Bruce Homestead to the Commission on Disability, Leslie Tane to the Commission on Disability, Thomas Brown to the Council on Aging, Patrick Bruff to the Council on Aging, Marie Ferraro to the Council on Aging, Leslie Horner-Button to the Council on Aging. Then we have Tracy Eller to the Easthampton City Arts, Cassie Eckhoff to EDIC, Dave Delvecchio to EDIC, Lisa Ponce to the Manhan Rail Trail, Elizabeth Sturgeon to the Manhan Rail Trail, David Jaffe to the Manhan Rail Trail, Alexis Hosea Abbott to the Manhan Rail Trail, James Crawford to the Manhan Rail Trail, Anita Luce Brown to the Manhan Rail Trail, and also John Bader to the Manhan Rail Trail. Next we have Paul Davis to the Nashawanek Pond Committee, Elaine Wood to the Nashawanek Pond Committee, Kira Henninger to the Parks and Recreation Commission, Brian Hilpole to the Parks and Recreation Commission, Nancy Stenberg to the Public Library Association of Easthampton, James Zarvis to the Planning Board, Jesse Belcher-Timmy to the Planning Board, James Ramsey to the Registrar of Voters, Anthony Manka to the Veterans Council, Maxwell Swisher to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then finally John Atwater to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay. And that is a form of motion.
Yes, that is in the form of a motion. Thank you.
So we just received a second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on Councilor Peak?
So an organization that I sit on the board of has business before the Zoning Board of Appeals right now, so it's probably proper for me to recuse myself from both of those. But I think I've got no objections to any of the others.
Okay, and I think we can probably have the clerk note that a yes vote from you on the group will include an abstention on those two.
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. Barbara.
Owen Jarrett.
Abstain.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
What? Oh, you said, okay. Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye, except for the two.
Yep. Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Okay.
How's that?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Not the JP vote?
What?
I didn't
You
hear
said
JP.
abstain.
No, I didn't hear JP.
Oh, did I skip your JP?
I thought I voted. I don't think I may have been quiet about it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then also we have a number of new appointees and reappointments that will come at a later date. So the appointment committee will be meeting on December 16th at 6 p.m. Right here in Conference Room 2, and thus concludes.
Thank you, Councilor Riley. And that brings us to ordinance. Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We haven't met since our previous meeting. Our next meeting is December 19th at 5:30 in Conference Room 2. And that's all our committee has to offer council this evening.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Denham. Property, doesn't look like you have anything, Councilor Zarrett?
No.
Okay. Rules and Government Relations, Councilor Krasinski.
I have nothing to report. I'll just be meeting with Councilor Gomez to see if we could schedule a meeting to discuss the one item of business we have, and Councilor Terrell. But other than that, there's nothing to report.
Okay, we don't have any old business. Thank you, Councilor Krasinski. We don't have any old business. We do have new business, and what I'll do is I'll just hand off whoever. So, Councilor Riley, this first piece, the information on the timeline of the vacancy, I'll have you move that.
All right, perfect, thank you. So I make a motion to move the city council vacancy process and public notification of timeline. What's that?
So per the new city council rules with this new form, the summary is read into the record, Mr. Acting President.
Oh, okay.
Just want to
Okay.
point that out.
Yep, so let me do that then. All right, so I make I'll withdraw the original motion, start over.
Okay.
So I make a motion to move the city council vacancy process and public notification of timeline to ensure a fair and transparent process. I'm requesting that the Rules and Government Relations Committee present the process to fill a city council vacancy as detailed in our home rule city charter and the rules of the Easthampton City Council for public education, outreach, and recruitment.
Okay, and that is to move to Rules and Government Relations?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion and an explanation. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Barbara?
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Okay, and Councilor Riley, I also have you move the appointment committee.
Yes, thank you. And then also in the form of a motion, I would like to move the city council president appointment to the CPA committee to be sent to the appointments committee in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Barbara.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And Councilor Peak, I'm going to have you do the interdepartmental transfer.
All right, I'll make this in the form of a motion, this request in the form of a motion, and I will also set a public hearing for our next meeting at 6:15 in these chambers for this item. Request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested $47,743.22 to be transferred from PEG access account, $47,743.22 to be transferred to PEG access account, $47,743.22. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: to give approval to spend from the PEG access receipts reserved account for cable-related purposes consistent with the franchise agreement.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to send the interdepartmental transfer $47,743.22 to PEG access account to finance and set a public hearing. Any further discussion? Seeing none?
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Brad Riley.
Aye.
Tamara Smith.
Aye.
JT Terrell.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Connie Denham.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye. And it looks like we have a request to return the ordinance review committee, so I'll pass that over to Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So towards the beginning of the year, we removed the ordinance review committee's final reports. And at this time, we are asking council to put it back on our agenda to be able to address that. I think that for myself and Councilor Smith, I think we've had some time to acquaint ourselves with ordinance, and we've moved through a number of items right now, and it just feels like this is a good time to bring this back. And it has also, at the same time, given Vice President Derby, who was member of that council before, some time away from that for us to be able to come back and with fresh eyes look at that. I did make a commitment to this council when we asked for its removal that we would be committed to this. And so I'm holding up to my word. And we are in fact bringing this back to council or to the committee to review that final report and hopefully have that back to council sooner than later.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Denham. So we have a motion to move that to ordinance. Do we have a second?
Second, I just have a question.
Yep, so we have a second and any further discussion or questions?
Just if we could get a list of what the remaining items were, I couldn't find them in the record. I know we had voted on a number of them, but I don't know what's left there. So if someone's able to send that out to the council, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, noted. Any other questions or discussion? Barbara?
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Brad Riley?
Aye.
Tamara Smith?
Aye.
JT Terrell?
Aye.
Owen Zaret?
Aye.
Connie Denham?
Aye.
Salem Derby?
Aye.
JP Kuzinski?
Aye.
Okay, and it looks like the next one would be appointments, so I'll pass it back to you, Councilor Riley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Before I make the motion, one of the appointments that's before us is for the Director of Planning and Community Development. That position's been open for quite a while. It's very important to the city. I would ask that if any councilors have questions or want to participate in the process, to please let me know. You can come to the council meeting, you can send me questions and emails. I'm happy to share the cover letter and resume with redacted personal information from the applicant. I would humbly request your participation. So in the form of a motion, I would like to move 3 mayoral appointments and 8 reappointments to the appointment committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Barbara.
Brad Riley?
Yes.
Tamara Smith?
Aye.
JT Terrell?
Aye.
Owen Zaret?
Aye.
Connie Denham?
Aye.
Salem Derby?
Aye.
JP Kuzinski?
Aye.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Okay, and the last one is the Retirement Board 2024 actuarial results and request to increase COLA base by 2,000. And I would just ask that you move that to finance, I guess, Tom.
I move that we move this item to the Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Barbara?
Tamara Smith?
Aye.
JT Terrell?
Aye.
Owen Zaret?
Aye.
Connie Denham?
Aye.
Salem Derby?
Aye.
JP Kuzinski?
Aye.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Brad Riley?
Aye.
Okay, and that concludes our business for this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion on this one. Go ahead, Barbara.
Tamara Smith?
Aye.
JT Terrell?
Aye.
Owen Zaret?
Aye.
Connie Denham?
Aye.
Salem Derby?
Aye.
JP Kuzinski?
Aye.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Brad Riley?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Get those chairs out.